Life is all about decisions, good or bad. You learn from your decisions, you learn from your mistakes, all that stuff. And no matter what, we learn from those decisions and often we reflect on them. In this video, I wanted to talk about some of the decisions that I made when I was younger. Some of the more controversial decisions that I made in my life that I don't necessarily regret. If you're interested in that, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So one of the more controversial decisions that I made when I was younger was having a child young, 16 years old to be exact. When I was still in high school, me and my wife now had our first child. We were very, very, very young, and a lot of people, including ourselves, didn't believe that we could even take care of a child that young. It was a very controversial decision, a very impactful decision, and it's a decision that I don't honestly regret. I thank my son personally sometimes just for the trajectory that he set me on. It guided me. You know, I always had to keep my son in my mind and in my thoughts when I decided to do certain things. When I made decisions, I always had to think of him first. Just having that foundation definitely helped me. I can't say that it didn't. And if I'm being completely honest, I can't imagine where I would be had he not have been here. And I know the kind of young man I was, and had I not had that reference point, had I not had that something to always kind of keep me in check, there's no telling. I probably would have realistically ended up dead or in jail. And that, I'm not exaggerating when I say that. It was hard. It still is very, very, very hard. But it's one of those decisions that I just honestly don't regret. Second controversial decision that I made that I do not regret is deciding to go to college. I didn't even graduate from high school. Raising a young child in high school and just the kind of guy that I was during that time, I really didn't give a shit about school. So I decided not to go to college. And at the time, I didn't really think about it from an educational standpoint or think about it from a financial standpoint. You know, I don't regret it. I don't. Got a bunch of student debt racked up. And the business that me and my wife run now, I don't need a college education to do it. We're pretty successful at it. A lot of the people that we hire to help run our business are college educated. I do value education and I do value learning, but college wasn't in the cards for me. Like I said, I decided not to go, and I honestly don't regret it. It's not one of those things that I sit back and go, man, I wish I would have went to college. There's a lot of things that I learned working in the real world right out of, high school, right into my early adulthood, lessons that I value and appreciate. Not that college can't give you those. I just didn't go get them at college, and it's something I just honestly don't regret. Another decision that I made was getting tatted. Specifically on my face, I have money signs tatted on the left side of my face. I also have both my hands tatted. I don't regret it though. It's awesome. Like I like my tattoos. It's always a conversation starter for people who don't know they're there. And it gave me this sense of pride, this kind of like badass like attitude, because I went into corporate at some point in time doing collections for companies and becoming supervisors and managers and things like that with this face tat right here on my face. You don't have a choice of the texture of your hair or your gender or your race. You deal with that and everything that comes with it. And people will say, well, you already got all this stuff stacked against you. Why would you do that? Why would you make it even harder for yourself? And I just felt like, fuck that. It's my body, it's my decision. It meant something to me. It was like all my tattoos, I have a few different tattoos. All of them are meaningful. Specifically the one on my face, it just means money on my mind. It's a constant reminder, not that I need one, but that money is valuable. Money makes the world go around, and it's constantly on my mind. Like, I literally can't remove it. It's permanently on my mind. And that was like the baddest shit to be like, I just thought that was so badass. And like, I meant that. I still mean that. Like, money is still very much on my mind and probably will be until I'm dead and gone. And I've met with people from all walks of life, higher people, lower people, whatever, all different races, with this tattoo on my face. And however they decide to look at me because of it, it kind of is what it is. But it's the decision that I made. If they decide to look at me because of my race or my gender or my hair texture, you know, whatever it is, you know, these are things that are out of my control. You know, how you dress and things like that. You could change your clothes. I can go somewhere and dress really nice, but you can't, you know, I can get this removed, but you can't. It just like almost taking control in a sense, and it empowered me to push through all of that. You know, I've got a lot of success with this face tattoo, and I'm not a rapper or anything like that. Like, I'm a pretty regular guy. I take my kids to like practice, and I remember like my uncle telling me like, you need to get that removed. I just remember so many people being like freaked out about it and stuff like that, and I just was like, I never flinched. The lesson internally with that for me is so valuable. When I went and got it because I wanted it, and being forced to kind of live with that. It was like my low-key, like one of my superpowers. Tattoos, specifically the face tat. Don't regret it. Starting my own business. I don't know if this was necessarily controversial, but it was very much taking a risk, taking a gamble, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know, you know, what that was going to consist of. That this was entirely different. I had worked all my life up until that point. That was what I knew, and I was a very good, hard worker. You can ask anybody who knew me personally. I was good at what I did and took my job and my work really serious. So to start my own business, a business that, you know, I had experience in, but I was just starting from scratch, was a bit controversial. Obviously, I don't regret it. Another one of the best decisions that I ever made. And then kind of along with that, eventually, maybe a year and a half, 2 years into my business, I decided to quit my job. And I was scared shitless at the time, if I'm being honest. And shout out to my wife. She was real supportive. She was like, yo, if you want to grow this thing, if you want to build this thing to, you know, its full potential, if you want to really go all in on this, you got to quit and go full on this. Every hour that you're giving to this job, you're taking away from our business that we could be growing. And she was right. But I was like not hearing it at first. So she was trying to get me to do this for maybe 2 or 3 months before I actually got the balls to do it. I made every single excuse to not leave the job I was at the time. You know, I did, and I never looked back. That's pretty much it. Those are a few of the decisions that I made when I was a little bit younger that may be a little bit controversial for some people, maybe not for some, but those were kind of like some interesting decisions that I made that kind of changed the trajectory of my life, just looking back and reflecting on it. Having my son, getting married, starting a business, tattooing money signs on my face. These were kind of like defining moments, if you want to say that kind of set me on a certain path, on a certain way that I don't necessarily regret. But there are some, you know, things that I look back and go, why in the hell did I do that? These are some of the more controversial decisions that I made that I don't necessarily regret. I'm rocking with it. I hope this video was interesting. I don't know how informative this video was, but I hope you found it interesting. If you did, give this video a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Again, this is Better Black Man, my YouTube channel. I'm Sean Kiefer. Peace.